by the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation is Commissioner Curran. Pledge of Allegiance is Commissioner Wolf.
Thank you. Let us pray. Almighty God, you are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our tasks with wisdom, and may we approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work this day. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Before we get to roll call, I just wanted to make a statement. It's our county clerk's birthday the other day, and I just wanted to let everybody know. Those who didn't.
We certainly send you the best wishes. I'm sure it was a wonderful day.
34?
Well, 35.
35.
So thank you very much for that announcement. With that having been said, we will ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Yeah, all busted.
I know, we did.
Hey. Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Present.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Majerick,
Here.
Meeks,
Here.
Scott,
Yes, I'm here.
Ballraff,
Present.
Werfel, Yarborough,
Present.
Elliott. Madam Chair, you have 11 present, 1 absent.
Wonderful. We have a quorum. With that, looking on the agenda, I'm assuming everybody received the minutes for January 13th, 2022. And I'm looking for a motion to approve those minutes. Commissioner Volrath, is there support? Commissioner Meeks? Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, communications.
Yes, you should have received 3 communications, one from Christina Danglish, Coloma, Michigan, regarding the pandemic and our constitutional rights, received on January 12th. Heather Schoonfeld, St. Joseph, Michigan, regarding 2 communications on Lakeland Hospital and children and COVID, received on January 13th. Those are the only communications.
Thank you. Everyone received those communications electronically?
Put you on that list.
Wonderful. Next on the agenda, I have here requisition review with Annette, our moment with Annette.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we sent out the requisition list yesterday. Does anybody have any questions about the requisitions? A much smaller number this week than it was in the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. We're good? All right, great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excuse me, did you have something you wanted to bring to us? Something you're going to talk about? About the memorial?
Oh, you guys will do that at committee on committee first, and then we will move that forward to the full board.
You didn't know where it came from.
Right, we're gonna do it next week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect.
Make it a secret.
Yeah, no.
Public meeting or something. like that.
Right. Appreciate your question to clarify that, Madam Yarbrough.
Thank you.
And so we're passing around the requisition review. At this point in time on the agenda, we will open it up for public comments regarding resolutions that are currently slated for this agenda. If there are any, please come up to the podium, state your name and your municipality and your comments. All right, seeing none. Thank you very much. So we're looking at the consent calendar. It has been moved to be approved by Commissioner Wolfel. Is there support?
Here, support.
Commissioner Scott has supported. Is there any discussion on these resolutions?
Who made the motion?
Commissioner Warfel. All right, hearing no discussion or questions. Would ask that we do a roll call.
Curran,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 11 yeas.
All right, all of the resolutions have been approved. We are now at the point on our agenda of committee reports, and first in line is Personnel and Human Resources. Well, that's up for debate, right?
So we met this morning, have.
Commissioner Harrison, can you turn your mic
Oh,
on?
I'm sorry. Thank you
Thank you.
for that reminder. Not having you sitting next to me to remind me is a problem. So we talked about a number of things. We approved two advanced step hires, one for indigent department and the other for the front of the court. Also, we've got a couple resolutions that will come to you at your next meeting related to the solid waste agreement. We've also, as I think you're all aware, been working on the performance evaluation for our administrator. So I'm going to pass these to Mr. Curran for distribution. The board has settled on the form to use. So you'll be getting a hard copy, and I ask that you turn it back into Shelley Jasper by our next meeting. And then we'll go through the process to compile those, review them with our administrator, and then present at a later date for the board to consider.
So you're asking for those to be returned by next Thursday?
By next Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
And so pretty self-explanatory. It's based on the form previously used by the county board. And so it shouldn't be anything that's beyond the capabilities of the commissioners.
Wonderful.
And this is the one we're using. This is the
Yeah.
hard copy.
That's the hard copy. So please mark on the hard copy,
And then
write your comments. The comments will end up being shared with Mr. Doucette, so he can see who's, not necessarily who said what, but just some of the thoughts and perspectives of the commissioners.
Sure.
Return, you want to turn in by?
Next Thursday.
Thursday.
If you want to turn them in yet today, that'd be fine. They go to Shelley Jasper, and then she'll do the compilation. And then she and I will meet, and then I'll meet with Mr. Doucette, and then we'll come back to the full board. Any questions about that, or what the expectation of you is?
Bob?
Just a quick question. Was Brian made aware of the evaluation and what he was being evaluated on when he was hired? So over the last year and a half, does he know what he's being evaluated?
So he and I went over this, and we assessed and compiled and took previous direction from the board
Very
as
good.
we put the key objectives in.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Mr. Doucette? I just
Yes,
wanna make- I
yes,
don't want
sir.
to speak for you. So once we're done with that, then we'll move to the form that we will use, the commission will use a year from now to assess his performance during 2022. So you'll see the same type of form, the objectives and some of the priorities will be changing based upon, you'll have an opportunity to weigh in on those also.
Perfect. Are there
Any questions?
I have a question, not about this, but we had discussed a little bit before about the new corporate council's evaluation. Are we going to have a 11-month or 12-month review by the end of December for him, or is it going to go from his hire date to his hire date?
I think we'll end up on calendar.
Okay,
So we can do both of the commission's employees at the same time.
all right,
Which
thank
I
you.
think would make the most sense. So I'll take a look at what was done for Mr. McGovern.
Okay,
Probably go through the same assessment of objectives and priorities
thank you.
for Mr. Hackworth.
Perfect.
And then I know you've been waiting for me to talk about the commission's rules and operating procedures. So once we get through the personnel stuff, then we'll start on those.
I'd like to thank you and the committee for the work that's being done on those documents.
It does represent a team effort by the committee.
I have no doubt that it does. It's a little bit tedious, but it is certainly well worth the effort. So thank you so much. If there's no more for personnel, I'm going to turn it over to Finance Committee for their report. Madam Chair of Finance.
Thank you. I would like to start out by saying that our first person that came was Parks Director Jill Adams, and the young man, is his name Josh? Jason. Jason, they wanted to talk to us because we had opened bids on the 13th regarding the clean sweep services. And there was one company they were familiar with, and the other one they were not. When the bids were opened, ERG, a company they've done business with for 5 years, was in at $108,294.50. And then another company that saw it online and they had not done any business with before, named Tradebee, we think that's how you say it. Their bid was $142,152.28. And that was a difference of $33,857.78 over. And so our motion was to go with the lowest bidder if it fits the specifications and requirements. So that's what we did with that one. And then I would like to ask Commissioner Ezra Scott if he would talk to us about the bids that we opened with our financial analyst, Jake Lideker.
I have to get that up, Madam Chair. I was looking to do the other one,
What?
which was the resolution.
Oh, do that. That's it. That's what I asked you to do. I asked you to do the Community Development Director, Dan Fetty, and Evan Smith's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Annette.
Evan came in and Dan Fetty. We're bringing a resolution to you next week for January 27th, F2201181. And this is the application for money for Berrien Bus. And right now, we've all known the issues we've had with Berrien Bus. And it appears that we're going to get, we were at a percentage of 18% from the federal operating percentage every year. And because of the things that they have passed in Congress coming out of the federal government, it jumped up to 36%. So we're going to be a little, it's due to the CARES funding and the ARPA funds held by MDOT. They're going to have a huge budget surplus, and this is all for the fiscal year 2023. We have to put these in, the state usually tells us when we have to put them in. Usually I think it's at the middle of the year, but now they've upped it a few months to do it now. So they're applying for that. And it's basically the total estimated revenue is $955,322. And the total estimated capital revenue on it is $70,000. So this is an annual plan that's put in. And like I said, it comes through the state, well, the federal government first, then the State Department of Transportation through Public Act 51. And we're looking at also the buses. They're looking at downsizing some of the buses to make them, to fill them up more and make them more fuel efficient rather than the big box ones. They're looking at probably like the vans, you know, to make it more equitable. And I believe this money is going to be passed through from us to RISA, who is the one that's basically operating the buses right now. I'm sure that's my report. If there's any questions, I know the answers. I'll be more than happy to give them to you.
Thank you Thank you
I'm just
very,
telling like it is, David.
thank you very much. And then we did do the bid openings, and one was for steel blades for the road department. And I didn't quite understand. I thought it was one of the big things that do like this, but it's a number of blades. He says um, Director Kevin Stack was in, and our acting director. And what he said was they're about 4 feet long, and you put about 3 of them on the truck. I'm learning a lot about cleaning roads. I don't want to be out there because it's so cold. But they requested steel blades. They sent it out to 7 bidders, and only 2 responded. One of the responses was, we're not bidding on this. So the other person was called Truck and Trailer Specialties in Caledonia, Michigan, and they bid at $39,072. The projected cost was $10,000, but things have gone up. And so this is a number of blades that were ordered. It's not just one. So we have a motion that we make for the road department, and we give it to them. And if these fit the requirements, then they're going to go ahead and order them. Then the next one was for carbide scraper blades. You heard me say the first one was steel. They really want carbide because they last longer. The steels wear away from whatever's on the ground that they're scraping. They sent out to 7 bidders. 1 responded, and it was Volk Manufacturing of New Kingston, Pennsylvania. And he said this is about 60 pieces, and the amount is $18,240. The estimated projected cost was about $15,000. And so we made a motion, and they're going to go ahead and order those. Then the next thing that we opened was for a boat for the sheriff's department. The projected cost was $85,000. We sent it out to 2 bidders and got 3 responses. One saw it online and bid it. So I'd like to let you know that one was Starboard Choice Marine in Edwardsburg, Michigan. They bid at $84,050. The next one was Elastec Incorporated of Carmi, Illinois. They bid at $135,948. And then the third one was Technology International of Lake Mary, Florida. And the amount was $142,270. And I was wondering how we're going to get the boat, and the sheriff said it didn't matter. And $142,270, we'll never know. So those are the, and they said they hadn't ordered a boat in years, and there's no boat. They mean to use this on Pawpaw Lake. And they said they're going to be just like the police that you see on I-94. Hopefully it'll make you do better. But it is aluminum. Is that what? Aluminum. The other boats they've had has been, I forgot, fiberglass, and they have real trouble with that, with them peeling and all kinds of things. And so they listed, and administrator decided, gave us a real good description of what they're asking. And then the next thing somebody said is, now you're going to have to order a trailer, but trailer is included in this, in these dollars. Okay, because we have more trailers than any company, whatever. So these, the sheriff's department, the sheriff and under Sheriff Height, they were both there, and they're gonna look at this and study it and get the best vote possible, along with the administrator. This said will work with them. And then there was a bid for the veteran service remodel. They want to do a door. And you heard them say something about another room there. And what they did was, we had 2 bids, and they were on the website. One was McGuire's Professional Construction of Benton Harbor, Michigan. And that person was in the room with us. And his bid was $28,336. And there's an alternate of something they would add to it of $3,743. Their total bid, if we went with all of it, is $32,079. Then the next bid was from Pearson Construction, Benton Harbor, Michigan, and their original bid was $44,980. And there's an alternate addition if we choose that, and it would make, it's $4,340, and it would make the total bid $49,320. We accepted the bid, and it will be given to the Veterans Department for them to look at and see what fits best. If they go over choose to use the higher bid, then they'll have to come back to the finance committee first. And we all agreed on these bids that they should be done. There's one other, we had some waivers, and the waiver was about the employee elevator in the courthouse. Sensors, what closes the doors is not working. It's obsolete. They're no longer making them. We had to go to Otis Elevator Company. And then another part of the bid was electrical and fire system upgrades for the employee elevator. To fix this elevator is $293,183. This electrical work is $26,000. We did a waiver because Otis has something on them, you can't use anybody else but Otis company to work on their stuff. And so they're gonna look at it and see, and there's really no choice. We accepted our minutes, we accepted the road payables and the approval of weekly bills. That's what we did. Any questions? That's my report.
Are there any questions for the finance committee? Thank you very much for your report. We'll turn it over to admin.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Madam
Kern?
Vice Chair. We had our public defender, Paul Jackett Jr. in to see us this morning. He informed us that his chief assistant has decided to step down. She's going to remain with the department. She's just not going to be the assistant chief public defender. So he is going to begin the process to fill that position. He told us that they are fully staffed. He said that the positions that he's filled here recently, he's been very impressed with the quality of the candidates. And he also noted that for those of you who were around like 3, 4, 5 years ago, you know, we kind of were on the front line of putting together a public defender's office, and everybody used to steal our people because we'd had them trained and they were ready to go. So other counties, well, he said it's starting to be payback now. He's actually gotten some staff from other counties who have come to work at Berrien County. So he was kind of happy about that. He talked about the MIDC standard 5. There are 8 total and they're up to 5. So that one went into effect October 1st. It's a process where they select the attorney to represent the person. The court used to do it. Now his office does it. He said it has minimal impact on his whole department as a whole. And I did ask him, if the court used to do it, what are those 2 people in the court doing now? You know, are they doing something else because now they're not doing this? And it's kind of a blended position. So in other words, there aren't 2 open positions in the court because of this. They still have plenty of things to do in the court. He provided us with the data so far for the quarter, and the numbers are running about the same. The courts are pretty much back up and running now. So he said for this time last year, they're running about the same numbers. He also provided us figures for the social services workers within his department. He has 2 of them, and provided the figures, and they show they're pretty busy. So his office is doing well. We did ask him about filling his position if and when he becomes judge. So we discussed that a little bit. He's trying to plan for that, and I know Brian's well aware that you know, we probably are going to have to fill that position. So he's got good people on staff, and I said, you know, if you have someone that you think would be a good fill, to let us know. Because I know my preference is if we have somebody internally, I like to see them, you know, promoted and elevated first before we hire somebody from the outside. So hopefully we'll have a good candidate for that. Any questions or anything on the public defender's office, Ezra?
Yes.
I knew you would.
Well, you said something that was a little concerning and maybe I misunderstood it. You had said that the deputy chief wants to step down,
Correct,
but still be employed.
correct.
And then you said that they were fully staffed. Was that fully staffed before the deputy chief stepped down? And that gives us an extra? And then we have to hire a deputy chief and then we've increased our employees to one?
I believe the explanation was someone from internally will be elevated to that position.
And if not,
He's not gonna go out and hire somebody.
well, I'm just wondering, and if not, because then we end up with an extra employee, takes us out of budget, takes
Right.
us a lot of things.
That's not the case, no.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Be pretty confident. You said you had a couple of people in mind that
Yeah, internally.
fill the role internally now.
Had to ask.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. Any other questions? All right, we do have some resolutions for you the next time we meet. Resolution ending in 178. This is for the Berrien County Sheriff's Department Marine Safety Program. It's a 75-25 grant request from the Department of Natural Resources. It's for the Marine Safety Program, so we approved that. That's just to apply for it. Resolution 180 is Micah, the K-9 that retired from the Sheriff's Department. The handler would like to keep the dog. So we have made an arrangement of the handler being able to buy the K-9 for $1 with the stipulation that it not be used for public service. So you'll see that resolution. Resolution 184. This is a maintenance service agreement between Entrado and the 911 department. Entrado provides all the hardware, software, all the maintenance on our dispatch center up here in Benton Harbor and the one in Niles. And that is for a service agreement of $78,475.33. It'll run from February the 12th of 2022 to February the 11th of 2023. So it's a one-year contract. Then we have a resolution 186 for you that accepts funding that the court applied for. It's $2,600. And this is 2022 coronavirus emergency supplemental funding, $2,600. Okay, $2,600. And then we approved our minutes. We had our vice chair and our administrator in, and we talked about the hospital over in Berrien Center, as well as the juvenile center. Talked about various options for the juvenile center, and the administrator brought us up to speed on the building in Three Oaks. And that is my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions for the administration committee? Hearing none, we are now moving on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Yarbrough, may I start with you and we'll go around the horn?
Yes. Let's think about what we can do. What should I not say? I mean, so that you all can say something. This meeting we went to was fantastic. Some didn't last. They had other things. It was a long meeting because we had not met in quite a while. They do good work. They make great reports. They have things on the screen, just all kinds of things. I guess.
What commission was it?
I'm sorry, Parks. We had a Parks Department meeting yesterday at 3:30, and it was after 6 when we got out.
Wow.
And the way they do it is because Parks, and this is what's so interesting, they said they had 10 full-time employees so many years ago. Now they have 11. But they need many because the number of properties that we're involved with, the different things that need to be looked at, and this is what we were trying to help them to know all of that. But they told us each department, each park or facility, the person that runs it was here. That's how they do the meeting. So when you look down the agenda, they talked about Love Creek and Mad Bird and these vacant properties that we have and how this trails and all of that is going to really work because so many communities are happy about that and they want it to happen. More bike riders, more, of all the different things. And I think that was kind of connected last week when Marcy Hamilton was here talking from Southwest Michigan. So they're friends of this and friends of that, and they're bringing big money. So like if they want to buy a piece of land right there at, it's a Water Relief. And there are personal people putting in $50,000, friends of something putting in 15 and different things. So our parks are going to continue. I'm super impressed with the young lady at the Historical Center. She said she's slowing down. She's only made 4 events for this year. And I think she needs that because she's like, like a rocket. But there are good things going on, and the staff is fantastic. So I guess that's what I want to say, is that the parks are working. And they already have a lot of reservations and everything for the summer. Oh, and I think what's important is they made more money this year or in 21 than they had in many years. You would think that it would be less money, but people want to go somewhere, they want to get out. And our parks have been being used really well. And because it hasn't snowed much yet, and it's at this time of year, they can't say that we fell down because there was no snow. We'll know that at the end of next year. Thank you.
Don and I last night went to the Berrien Mental Health Authority, which is Riverwood. They went over, well, they had a member from CMHA, which is the Community Mental Health Association of Michigan, which coincides with the resolution we passed last week against the Shirky bill. And there's a video, which is at fb.watch/9XO-NHPBFS. And that talks about the programs and goes through everything. And I'm going to pass this around. It's their perspective on the bill itself and how it's going to cut expenses or cut revenue to mental health like 30%, but it is going to decrease services that they can provide going to this method. And I'll pass this around. Just take a look at it. The next thing, they went over their budgets. They also went over the audits. They do audits every month, and they come to the board and tell us. And they're usually, Riverwood is usually 100% in their audits and do not have many discrepancies. And if they do, it's 1 or 2, maybe a month, and that's sometimes new employees or new services just not filling the boxes in correctly. So they passed with flying colors, as they always do. Commissioner Scott asked me to check on mental health of children because of masks and vaccines and quarantines and such. And it was consensus that nobody on the board or the employees saw any issues with students or mental health people in the field, or with they did a look at grades, first grade to 5th grade, and they didn't find any learning disabilities from wearing masks, anything so far. I mean, that's a preliminary, their perception. But they didn't find anything wrong with the mask. They said sometimes their students walk out and you would watch them. They don't take their masks off, get on the bus, or get picked up. They keep them on entirely, and you would think that they rip them off as soon as they got out. So they found nothing of issue so far. Another year can tell a tale. And that's my report.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
I
Lopez.
want to kind of add to what Mike was saying. I did go to the meeting with him yesterday, but the thing was, it's the Senate bill that was talking about. Senate Bill 597 to 598. It's taking what it's going to do is take the local control away. And they really had a problem with that. I got a problem with taking the local control away also. So that's the only thing Mike missed. He did very good at the point. So thank you, Mike. So I just
Well,
kind
thank
of
you for
added
following
the
that.
bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Warfel?
I too attended the parks meeting yesterday. It was very long. In fact, I had to leave because I had another meeting after that. But I will add to what Mamie said. We, at the beginning of the meeting, we talked about Lighthouse Point Condominium Association. They would like to do some landscaping at Silver Beach in front of the condos. So we ended up tabling that discussion so that we could submit more detailed questions that need to get answered prior to that, because of course there's issues with maintenance, things like that. They're willing to pay for the landscaping, but then again, what happens after year one? Also, Love Creek happened to mention about their naturalists going to all the different parks. So they don't just stay at Love Creek, and I wasn't aware of that. So I don't know if everybody here is, but they do go out to the other parks. They do conservation activities at all of our parks. So that's important, I thought, to know. We also approved yesterday raising disc golf prices. So I'm assuming that's gonna go through PHSC and then come to us, but we did agree with Madeline Bertrand on raising those disc golf prices. Then I went out, and I do have the Lighthouse Point landscaping thing, so if anyone wants to see it afterwards, I can show it to you. Went to the Community Action Agency meeting, which we were in Cass last night, so that was fun, with the snow coming, and, but it was fine. Couple of highlights on Berrien, at the Action Agency, water distribution in Benton Harbor really decreased. Very little going out. The Action Agency they have days where nobody comes, and they're open every day for 4 hours for water distribution. The high schools as well, and of course, the Action Agency keeps track of all of that. To date, they've distributed 274,000 cases. But to put that in perspective, there was only 9,500 cases distributed in December, and there's even less in January. So at the very beginning, everybody just piled on, and Kim did, their executive director, you can drive around and you can see cases piled on porches. So they really kind of, like toilet paper a couple years ago. Let's get it all right now in case it goes away. And so they're kind of caught up. So is what it appears to be. So, but the water is still there. There's still plenty of water there, and all of that's going on. They're seeing an increase coming through. I think we've seen the emails too on what the government's going to do with weatherization and housing and fixing some of the housing and stuff like that. So there's going to be a huge increase. They're trying to hire more people in that department. So somebody looking or that would be good at that. Evidently, testing for it is very difficult, though. She did mention that. She said that's part of the problem, is to get somebody in that position to work on that weatherization. They have to go through a lot. And then we did approve their impact report, because their year ends September 30th. So we did approve that last night. So she'll be sending that to us electronically, and I'll get it to Annette to make sure all of you get it as well. So that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowe?
No report.
Commissioner Kern?
I didn't attend any meetings, but yesterday morning, I had the pleasure of being a juror in a mock trial. The Berrien County Historical Association made the courthouse available to St. Joe High School. And so all the participants were high school kids, except the jury. We were independent from the school. So I enjoyed it. It was a good experience.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioner Bell?
This past week I attended the Twin Cats, which is the Twin Cities Area Transportation Study meeting. And in that meeting, we approved some of the amendments to our local projects going on in the study. Due to the infrastructure bill that was passed by Congress, it kind of changed the amounts of the local match as well as the federal contributions to those specific projects. We also received a few updates from our local agencies as well as some of the staff from the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. One of the updates that's interesting is the firing of the dial-a-ride out of Benton Harbor, the executive director, Paul Gillespie. There's been some disarray going on with that board, and I plan to meet with the interim director as well as the board members to see what's going on there. They did have to shut down their services for a day due to staffing shortages with employees out due to COVID. So there's a lot to be addressed there, and I plan to be a part of that conversation. I also attended the Community Corrections Advisory Board yesterday, which we did not have a quorum, but we still met anyway. We didn't take any action items, but we did receive updates. Our sheriff, who's our vice chair, chaired the meeting. And it was more of an ongoing discussion about how to address the staffing shortages here with the county, how to kind of amend that. We're seeing upwards of 70 vacancies, and we're just trying to figure out how we can fill in those gaps before it becomes a huge problem for the county in terms of providing the service to Barron County residents. We also received updates from a few of the programs under the Community Corrections Advisory Board. COVID has taken a toll on a lot of people in a lot of different departments across the county. But some of the rehabilitative meetings are still occurring with those who are participants of it. They're just meeting virtually. And I think the sheriff can speak to, how COVID, sickness is hitting our inmates as well as the deputy officers. There's just this roller coaster of sicknesses that's going on. And so they're doing everything they can to, remain above water. So we're keeping a close eye on that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So I also attended the Parks Board meeting as a community member. And I think the commission is well represented by Commissioners Yarborough and Werfel. They very actively involved in the work of the Parks Board. And so I really enjoyed that. I also attended the Martin Luther King ceremonies on Monday, sponsored by Lake Michigan College. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott.
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment that Commissioner Bullrath and myself attended the same non-meetings, no report.
Hmm.
No report.
I did attend the meeting, but.
No report for me either, which leads us now to the administrator's report, if he has one.
No report.
No report.
You were at the meeting.
We were at the same meeting as those two, understood. It now moves us to the part of our agenda for general public comments. Anything under the sun for 2 minutes that you wish to talk to the commission about, you're welcome to do so.
Just line up on the right.
Please go up to the podium, state your name and the municipality with which you reside.
I've been there, so with the problems of getting people to work for this county. There's 60-some openings right now for employees. Is there something wrong inside the county that people don't want to come here and work? Possibly. The other thing is, I understand elected officials are exempt. Police and fire are exempt. But if you're gonna be in a management position with this county, I don't care if it's department manager, whoever, and you don't want to work or live in this county, then go on down the road and, find some other job. I think living in this county should be number one choice of a candidate. If you want to collect your money, money from this county, but not pay taxes in this county, and go find a job someplace else.
It's federal law violation.
Is there any other comment? Hearing no other public comments,
No? Who's saying no? Annette? Well, I do have an item of other business that I would like to discuss with this board. 2 months ago, we had received the strategic initiative report, and in that report, there is an item, it is the ARPA fund use application. It actually falls on page 93. And what I'd like to ask is if this board is interested in working in parallel of having staff work through the application format to present to this board, if that's the will with which we want to go forward in appropriating dollars in the partnerships that we may have with different organizations, municipalities, with the ARPA dollars that are coming to Berrien County. The reason that I ask that is because I don't know that we're gonna really have a chance to discuss the full study for at least another month. And if we could work in parallel to have the application being developed, the internal processes being developed, that when this board then considers what funding structure we want to approve, we will then have applications at the ready to consider, because ARPA dollars have a deadline of 2024. And so I wonder if there is a will to give direction to staff to start that process, to start to develop an application form for us to review and consider to adopt.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I follow up on that? Before the board weighs in, from your staff's perspective, there is a growing sense of anxiety. 2024, the end of 2024 is the hard deadline for the commitment and the use of those ARPA funds. We have $30 million to spend, and the lesson learned from the CARES Act is do not get into a situation where you're rushing at the end of the reporting period. This is one that it is a once in a generation investment by the federal government, and taking the time to allow the local units to submit their applications, their ideas on the use of those ARPA funds, giving the locals as much time as possible makes a ton of sense. This is something that I would highly encourage the board. If you're not quite ready to adopt the strategic plan, if you need some edits, insertions, whatever is needed, take the application process from the strategic plan and get it implemented. Get it implemented as soon as possible so that from staff's perspective, we can lean on the local units to say, bring us your ideas, be it broadband, be it a roundabout, be it some type of harbor improvements, housing improvements. I have no idea what all could come from the locals, but I know that if we ask them to rush, you're not going to get quality. Sorry, that's my commentary.
I appreciate your input and insight on that as well. So I'm looking to see from this group if there's a willingness to move forward with considering the application form that is in the initiative that we received on the 18th of November. And then we can be working in parallel for the funding structure. Yes, Commissioner Kern.
I support the initiative. We've had these discussions at our BC bit. I understand the need for an application that everyone, all the other municipalities can use to request, but we have two, one for sure, and a second one, a broadband project that's ready to go. And we don't have a means for that municipality to get that request to us. So I've been full support of at least extracting out this application from that document and allowing us to use that document going forward. So I'm in favor.
Is there Commissioner Scott?
Yeah, I'm on BC bit also, and I happen to agree with you, Jim, on that. I guess the big thing is what everybody needs to know on the strategic plan. Well, I guess what you're asking for is you're asking for a preliminary approval to move forward with a portion of it rather than wait a month to approve the whole plan. Is that the idea?
So my purpose of bringing this out in other business was to make the suggestion that we work in parallel, that we allow staff to develop the application, which is here tentatively for us to look at review. I'm not asking that we adopt it today. I
Right.
want you guys to take a look at it, review it. And then what I'd like is next week, have it on our agenda to kind of review it, discuss it, and perhaps approve it at that point.
Okay, yeah,
Just the application, and then the rest of the conversation of what funding structures, how we want to take those pools of money can then be vetted and have further discussion on that. But I do feel very strongly that by utilizing the application form, which a number of counties throughout the country are doing, including some of our colleagues north of here, as well as some just south of the border, that this gives an opportunity for input, transparency, collaboration with lots of different organizations and units of government. And it really gives us a pulse of what the needs are here within Berrien County. So that would be my purpose for why I suggested it, to start to develop those two parallel tracks.
correct. Yeah, because we're gonna need that for the applications and such. I think if I'm correct, Mr. Hedinger had said that we should spend $6 million on broadband. Was that correct? I haven't looked at the
Yes,
strategic.
that is.
And every board member here has their own opinions and wants and desires of what they'd like to see with the ARPA funding. At this point in time, I'll go on record to say, I don't want $6 million for broadband. I want $8 million. I want $6 million dedicated to the constituents, to bringing broadband to as many people in the county as possible. And the other 2 million I want is to upgrade and connect high-speed fiber to all of our county buildings, because that's very important for, I believe, for the continuity of government. We have garages that, that don't have good internet. We have this county building here, the courthouse, the sheriff's department, things like that. So I've taken it just a little bit differently than but I want to make sure that whatever part or pool of the strategic plan comes out of that, I'd like to have my wish is to have dedicated money for broadband infrastructure for all the county buildings to be brought up to the 21st century. Thank you.
Commissioner Bell.
So just clarity from both you and Brian, the stats insight. Do you want us to kind of extend this invitation of participation from the municipalities of our respective districts to kind of contribute what they want out of the ARPA funds and kind of have them go over the application?
Yeah, so the intent here is the strategic plan document includes an application file. The initial thought was get the plan adopted and then we would just roll out the application to all the local units. With the delay in the adoption process, what Commissioner Freeling is describing is working in tandem, continue to work to build consensus on the strategic plan while simultaneously finalizing and adopting the application process, and then opening the application process to any local unit within the county that's desirous of submitting a request for the ARPA funds. I'm going to guess you will have multiple townships seeking funding for broadband construction. You may have townships and cities also seeking funding for housing, for some type of infrastructure upgrade, or even for hardscapes within parks, roads, et cetera. The only way we'll know is to get the application file finalized, approved, and then pushed out to the local unit saying, bring us your projects.
So this is just, let's get the conversation started.
Yeah,
Okay.
realistically, if you all said the application is approved, Brian, go out, seek applications, we're still looking at multiple months. By the time the local units consider what they want to do, consider how they're going to build their capital stack, put together the project narrative, submit it, the back and forth process will not be all that quick. So the sooner we get the process started, the better.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scott and then
Hi.
Commissioner Yarborough.
I had one other thing also that I just wanted to bring before the entire board so that they knew. The reason I came up with splitting the monies on broadband and connecting all of our county buildings, not only would that connect our county buildings, but putting in specific projects for infrastructure to help the municipalities. To give you an example, we just talked about, we have a shovel-ready project, okay? And in concept, it's shovel-ready. But we have no way or no opportunity at this time to get the fiber across the St. Joe River. Now, the county owns certain roads and bridges and things like that. And I'm talking about putting empty conduit in on those crossings so we can cross the river and connect the county from the east to the west and use some of that money to do that for future development. And it's things like that, because right now we have a municipality that wants to put in X amount of dollars, a lot of their own ARPA funding. They're looking for us to give them some help. And basically, there's no way we can get across the river. So we're talking to AEP and other things, but the county does have roads like Walton Road and things like that, where we can get across the river. But who's gonna pay for that? That should be at a premium that I think we should pay for as a county, so that it enhances all the communities on the east side, or the west side, no matter which way the fiber would be coming from. That's why I said that.
And if I may, I think part of the reason I made this suggestion is because that will be part of what we discuss in the funding pools and that strategy. But if we can be working in parallel, even if we don't talk about the initiative plan for another month, we're gonna have at least some lead time of 2 weeks to get the application going. There's still gonna have to be that rollout to the municipalities, like the administrator was stating. And so this just helps us so that we're working in parallel, because there is an end date. And we are in competition with other contractors, other counties, other states even, for those providers and contractors to be able to award these dollars. So I think it is worth the conversation. I appreciate that. Commissioner Yarborough.
Yes, I think we need to have a retreat, because as I'm listening, I have things, that I'd like to say about each, but that's not about the application. That's what we need to get to. But I think we need to have a retreat, because I question, if federal government is going to put money in broadband, why would we use some of this money to do that? Or why would the communities use some money? I saw something, I think you had written, you had broken down how many residents we had, and that divided in the amount of money we have equals so much per person, because I want it to be a fair way. That's what's important, number one to me, is that it's not who gets their request in first, it's not who you think is the best one. Somehow we've got to do this in a fair way. And I think a retreat or something, we need to go somewhere and just say everything we want, write it on the wall, on a piece of paper and stick it to the wall. That's what I think, but that we do need an application. And that right there will give you some ideas of what people are thinking, and then there will be a specific time to apply. But it needs to be fair.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm a mother.
Commissioner Hinkleman.
Yeah, I agree with Mamie. I was gonna say the same thing. I believe that we need, some work time dedicated solely to this. I'm all right with the application, but as important as the application getting out to everybody, the preamble as to why it's getting out there is very important. There's a lot of anxiousness out there. I know it from all the rural municipalities that they're not sure just exactly what they can do. There's a lot of, they're anxious and they're unsure as to what they can do. And you can't send an application out. You don't want to send an application out and frighten people, because they need to have that understanding as to what they're actually, signing up for at this point in time, because they don't at this point in time even know what they can and can't do. And so, the work time is important. And if that application goes out, the preamble, the letter that would accompany it is going to be seriously important, I feel.
And out, and that's what I don't know, out to the community, not the person, not individuals, but to the community.
Yeah, so the intent would be if the board is comfortable with releasing the application file, the application along with some type of cover letter explaining what this is would then be sent to each local unit of government throughout the county. I think that you'll see like with Benton Harbor, St. Joe, Niles, any community that's got a community drinking system is likely going to be focused on upgrades to their water and sanitary. For the rural townships, it's probably a safe bet that you're going to see a whole lot of applications for broadband because that's where it's generally the most absent. And then for all of the local units, I anticipate that you might see some creative projects come forward that either seeks to partner or pair the county's dollars with the local units. And I think you may see some park projects. I think you may see some housing projects. But we're at a point where if we are going to encourage the locals to submit, we've got to move because we are all facing the same deadline, which is 2024. I've asked through contacts at the state and fed, I've also asked through private consultants, is there any discussion of extending that 2024 deadline? At this time, there's not. So you need to be thinking about the time needed for local approvals. You need to be thinking about the time needed for local bidding. You need to be thinking about just the construction delays that we're all seeing. So the sooner we open the process, the sooner we are at actually seeing a project completed.
Commissioner Majerick and then Commissioner Scott.
Should we have a open meeting with the municipalities to come in and ask their questions instead of a letter and then having them try to delve into the letter?
Yeah, so my thought on that is to any of the local units, if you all say, go, you got a green light, get this started. We'll be working on a whole bunch of outreach in the form of some Zoom sessions with the local supervisors, with the local managers. I'll make sure that we're walking this through Strategic Leadership Council as a spring session. I'll make sure it's a topic there. I'll work with the Chamber of Commerce to push information out. And then I'll work with the clerk to make sure every single clerk is getting the exact same information. We'll do an aggressive push to get this out to the local units. But quite frankly, I'm already getting the questions. Over the last month, I've had multiple local units ask me, when can we apply? And just in the last week, I've got 2 different township supervisors who want to submit. They're ready. They have, as Ezra said, shovel-ready projects. So the good news is this isn't going to be real tough. If we get the green light to proceed, we'll push this out to ensure that everyone has the exact same information, that from the staff perspective, we're answering questions. But I don't think it's going to be difficult to get people's attention. They know the dollars are here. They know that the strategic plan, the draft, clearly calls for an application process. I think you will have a lot of activity.
Commissioner Scott.
Has nothing to do with the strategic plan, but I'd like to ask our county administrator if he could please give, not anybody else on this board, if he could please give me a report on what's going on and who is ahead in the jail project versus the mainframe. Thank you. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Still neck and neck.
Oh, goodness. Are there any other questions with regards to the other business that I brought up? Is there a willingness and consensus from this board to give the directive to staff to draft up the application for us to consider at next week's meeting? There's willingness. Okay. You have a directive.
You got it.
Thank you. Thank you all for that willingness. Is there any other business? No? Next item on the agenda is announcements and reminders. The only announcements that I know of is There's a BC BIT meeting, our Internet Broadband Task Force meeting at 1 PM. And then there is an EDC at 2.
For the EDC, for the members in this room that plan to attend the EDC, either touch base with me or Dan Fetty. It appears that there will not be a quorum established. We've had enough members of the EDC email in saying they won't be able to make it. So just be aware that it does not appear that the 2 o'clock will occur.
Okay, that's fine to know.
Okay.
Right. So no other